Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the UK Stroke Assembly online and in your homes. My name is Tony Banks, Head of Conference and Events at the Stroke Association, and I'm also proud Chair of the UK Stroke Assembly. We're into week 5 of our 6-week programme, and this week has been all around staying connected, particularly during the coronavirus crisis. We'll come on to today's session in a moment, but before we do, if you've missed any of our webinars so far, you can catch up at stroke.org.uk/UKSA virtual. We've had 2 fantastic sessions already this week that are on our website to watch now, and plenty more from the weeks that have gone by already. So please do check those out if you'd like to watch them. On to today, and we have a fantastic panel with us today, and we're going to be discussing the impact of coronavirus on us all and some of the ways we've been staying connected throughout the lockdown. Before we introduce everybody, as usual, we want you to have your say. Tell us about your experiences of staying connected during the lockdown period. Say hello to each other and put your questions to today's panel. As always, we've got Natalie with us who'll be taking your questions and comments throughout. Good morning, Natalie.
Morning, everybody, and welcome to today's session. As always, if you do have any comments and questions, please do use our chat bar. You'll be able to see this on the right-hand side of your page, and if you scroll down right to the bottom, you'll be able to submit your questions and comments into the text bar and then submit using the arrow key. I look forward to reading those throughout.
Thanks, Natalie. So please do post your questions and comments. We really want to hear about your experiences of staying connected with your friends, with your family, perhaps with your stroke clubs and groups. Tell us what you've been doing to stay in touch. Now, the other thing you can do if you're on social media, please do use the hashtag Stroke Assembly and post on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram if you're using it, and spread the word about our Stroke Assembly webinar series. We'd love to see you post. Thank you. On to today's session then. Before we introduce to today's special guests on our panel, I'd like to just introduce the session by saying that it is all about staying connected and how people have been doing that in very creative ways throughout the lockdown period. And before we start, I want to share with you a short video. At the Stroke Association, we've seen some incredible things that people affected by stroke have been doing to keep in touch. So let's play that video, take a look at what people have been doing throughout the lockdown period. Well, there we go. Just some of the things we've seen over the last 4 or 5 months of the ways people have connected during the lockdown period. Some incredible stuff. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So it's time to introduce our guests. I'm going to bring them on screen very shortly. And we're going to be welcoming our biggest panel that we've ever had on a Stroke Assembly webinar. So lots of people for you to put your questions to today. So let's welcome Carol, Kiara, Pippa, Catherine and Laura. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Lovely to see you all. Thanks for joining. I'm really excited to talk to you all this morning about the lockdown, how you've kept connected throughout that period, and some of the incredible things you and your groups have been up to. But first, some introductions. So if you don't mind, we'll come to each of you. And if you just introduce yourselves to our audience, one by one, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Maybe Pippa, if we could start with you.
Yeah, hi. I work for the Community Integration Service, which is part of the Stroke Association. I work around the North East area, and I've been running online groups for wellbeing through creativity, and that's what I'm here to talk about.
Thanks, Pippa. Looking forward to talking about the group in a moment. And Catherine, you work alongside Pippa with that group. Do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hello, everybody. Yes, I work together with Pippa in the Wellbeing Through Creativity group, and also one of our other lovely partners, Jeanette, who's backstage, I believe, with Living History Northeast. And together we run the Wellbeing Through Creativity group. So yes, excited to talk about what we've been doing with everybody.
Thank you for joining us. Carol, good morning. Do you want to say hello to everyone and tell everyone about you?
Okay, good morning. It's so wonderful to be here. I had my first stroke in 2014. And as I was celebrating 5 years since that stroke, I thought I would have another one. So I had my second stroke in February of last year. And I have no major memories pre-February 2019. So in some respects, I'm only about 14 months old. And so it's challenging, but also this great adventure through the unknown.
Thanks, Carol. And we're going to talk a little bit more about your stroke in a moment, and again, how that's impacted your life throughout the coronavirus crisis too. Kiara, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm Kiara. I'm 25. I had a stroke when I was 2 and 10 months, and it was caused by chickenpox virus.
Thank you for joining us, Kiara, and we'll come back to you again with some questions in a moment. And then finally, last but not least, Laura, good morning. Hello.
Hi there. Hi. So I'm a neurologic music therapist, which is quite an amazing job, and I lead the Bath Aphasia Choir. So we're a stroke association group, and we kind of operate under the Communication Support Service here in Bath and North East Somerset. We're going for about 2.5 years, obviously originally and now virtually.
Thank you, Laura. Can't wait to talk more about the stuff Bath Aphasia Choir have been up to. It's been great to watch. So thank you all again for joining us this morning. I've got so many questions for you all. We've got a slightly extended webinar today for those of you that are watching online now live. We've got 45 minutes instead of the usual 30. So plenty of time for you all watching to put your questions to today's panel as well. And as I mentioned at the beginning, share your experience of staying connected throughout the lockdown period. We want to hear from you as well, and tell us any tips or advice that people may benefit from hearing from. So let's get started. Carol, I'm going to start with you if you don't mind. First question to you. I'm really interested to know, as a stroke survivor yourself, what it's been like living with stroke during a global pandemic. I know it will have come with its challenges, but do you just want to share maybe with everyone what that's been like for you?
Well, what's really interesting actually is I think in one sense that stroke survivors, that we were possibly better prepared for challenges than everybody else. Some of my biggest challenges was, in the first instance, the whole concept of self-isolation, because my brain said self-isolation was you deciding to be separate from other people. And clearly I didn't make that decision. And so it took me a while to just get my head around what that meant and the impact of that, because I'm by myself. I was just getting used to living in an unfamiliar world, and then everything changed. And so that was a struggle. And it's also a struggle because nobody understands when you say that that's a challenge, people's responses are things, everybody's challenged by this. Yeah, this is really hard for everybody. And you're thinking, hold on a minute, you're not hearing me? Because in this, I am challenged. And so it's been, it's been a struggle. But fortunately for me, I've got a really strong faith, so I'm really holding on to that. But also, I have a interesting way of framing things, so I can always find the gem in the middle of the crap. In fact, somebody once told me that when there is lots of poo, I won't use the other word, there's usually a pony. And I've been waiting for this pony to show up, and it hasn't. But I've also, God, I think there was a time where he actually got a bit fed up with me because I was saying the S word so often. And he reminded me that it was another word for manure, and manure is fertilizer. So it's all about growth. And so therefore, this is a growth opportunity. Yay! But my favorite tree is actually the bamboo tree, because it's the only tree that can bend almost double and not break. And in turbulent times, the roots actually strengthen and grow. And so I just kind of think, do you know what? I'm still breathing, so yay! So, everything is still possible because I'm still alive. And when it was that I woke up in hospital after the second stroke, I figured the fact that I was still alive meant that I've got still got things to do. And for all of us, the best has to be in front of us, because if it's behind us, we might as well give up now. So that's the kind of stuff that navigating this stuff is doing, because I'm on my own. So I've quite literally been on my own for 17 weeks.
Wow.
Amazing.
And Carol, we'll come back in a moment to the ways that you've stayed connected with people during that time, but and we're definitely going to come back to your positive outlook on life, because that is quite a remarkable way that you live, and we want to hear much more about that. So we'll come back to that in a moment, but thank you. Chiara, I'd like to come to you next, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm keen to hear what lockdown life has been like for you, a young stroke survivor. How has the past 4 months been?
It's been quite challenging. Well, I'm not like shielding in the same way, because my stroke was an isolated incident when I was a child and quite little. It's kind of like my parents looked on a stroke association website and it said I didn't need to be shielded, but I haven't been able to see my friends. My birthday was actually in lockdown, so I had to have Zoom calls with everyone for my birthday. And I used to swim. I used to swim every day. I was a part of a swim team, and I haven't been able to do that. So it's been quite challenging, and like being by yourself quite a lot is quite hard.
Definitely. And I think, again, we'd like to hear from you in a moment, Chiara, about some of the ways you've kept in touch with people. And we know you do a lot, both of you, Carol and Chiara, online. So we'll talk about that in a moment. Pippa, do you mind if I ask you, I mean, we saw in that video at the beginning some of the amazing things people have been doing in their clubs and groups to keep connected during this period. Can you tell us a little bit about your group and the activities that you've done to keep in touch with your members?
Yeah, so ours was a physical group to start off with. We had the group was in place prior to lockdown. And then when we went into lockdown, the group members were really quite anxious about going into lockdown, about coronavirus and that sort of thing. So we thought, as a partnership with Kath and with Jeanette, to set up something online to keep that connection going. The group was really supportive of each other, through not just through the coronavirus, but also through their living through stroke and their experiences. So we wanted to kind of keep that going and maintain those relationships. So we set up an online messenger group chat to kind of keep everybody connected that way. And then we started running video sessions each week through Messenger. And we've been doing things like reminiscence quizzes that Jeanette runs. The creative side, it's Kath posts a word each day. So things like thankful, gratitude. And we talk about those in the group sessions. And we've been doing some creative art stuff, things that people can use within their home, because obviously we couldn't send out packs and that sort of thing. Yeah, and we did a 7 days of gratitude photography project. So we would post a word each day, and then everybody would take photographs of what that would mean to them. And it just kind of kept people connected and kept people motivated. And especially, I mean, Kath will talk more about the words of the day. It was to keep focus on the positives, which was really important, especially during that time of limbo, feeling completely isolated and not having the connections that you would normally have in your day-to-day life, you know.
Thank you. Maybe let's go to Kath, actually, if you don't mind. And Kath, I mean, Banyan Arts is where you're from. Can you tell us a little bit more about what we've just heard from Pippa, what you've been doing with the group throughout the lockdown period?
Okay, so yeah, so as Pippa said, our group was a physical group that came from, actually was established from a previous project that we did that explored people's stories. So it was looking at their own personal histories and stories and experiences of stroke, and then creating art out of it. And this was a 2-year project. So then out of that came our Wellbeing Through Creativity group, because that was something that the group had realised that was really important. So that the trust and the safe space and that lovely sort of space for communication was there already, which I think was a real positive for us to be able to adapt online, because obviously it's so suddenly 2-dimensional, you know, that you're not in the usual way that you would be. So we used tools that we would use in the physical group. So the word of the day, they're positive words, and it's around just encouraging people to respond in a way using any art. You know, it might be something because it might have been initially, obviously people weren't outside at all, but it might have been in their garden or just in the house, and just sort of looking around them and getting them to be, I suppose, more mindful, connect with their environment, and just say, actually, you know, looking around and noticing what's great around me, but also then beginning to think about what I have, my support systems, and the way our brains work, as I'm sure Laura will also connect with that, you know, thinking about, we start to think of something positive and our brain starts to look for other things that are positive. So it sort of just helps, and I'm sure Carol will, because you've talked already about positivity, so I can feel that. So I think it was just like Pippa said about the gratitude. It's like you start to think of little things that you're grateful for, and it's not about ignoring the things that are challenging, not at all, because we very much explored those through story, through conversation, through prose, people putting in pieces of poetry. Actually, one of our group members wrote their own little meditative script and posted it on to help other people about creating a vision, like a visualization of their happy place.
Yeah.
So it's been, we've facilitated that, but they've then led it, which has been amazing, you know. So it's because that's what it's about. It's, you know, we've been able to sort of step back a little bit in some respects and just allow those natural connections to grow, which has been amazing to see. So, and I think it's just that little daily chat, just that popping in, and I think Pippa would agree, and Jeanette would definitely agree, that that's what's, you know, that's what's really important. And then the reminiscence, so reflecting on things that have brought us joy in the past that are still there or that are different now. So sort of, reflecting on our own personal history and moving forward. And, you know, I think those things have all been very important.
Thank you. And I definitely want to come back in a moment to all of you to talk about that mindfulness thing that you were talking about, how important that has been for everybody over the past few months. So we'll come back to that in a second.
Okay.
Laura, if you don't mind, I want to talk to you about, we know how important music and singing can be for people, particularly with communication difficulties after stroke. Coronavirus comes along, stops your choir from meeting face to face. That didn't stop you guys though, did it? You carried on. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you've connected throughout that time?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting what you're saying, Catherine and Pippa, particularly because I think there's a lot of similarities in how our groups have run, just using different mediums. So we've done it in sort of musical ways. So yeah, as I say, we were meeting in person for about 2.5 years, and it was quite a sort of traumatic stop for us. Almost in between rehearsals, the message came through that we had to stop. So obviously we had the similar anxieties in our members. But yeah, we know from our previous choir sessions, as you say, music is so important for the brain because it's actually processed throughout the brain. So even if you do have damage to some parts, it's able to still kind of connect with areas that are still there, and helping people's recovery and generally lifting people's moods as well. But also, as well as our singing, there's the social side of our choir is so important, sort of peer support amongst stroke survivors and also our amazing carers that come along too. So yeah, we were quite determined to keep connected however we could. And we started off actually by doing some pre-recorded videos that we put up on YouTube. So of the warm-ups and the songs that we'd normally do at choir. That was a bit of a team effort between myself and Denise, who run our choir, and also our sister choir that are in South Gloucestershire, just near Bristol. And that's run by Emma, who's a speech therapist who's helped to set up our choir, and a couple of music therapy students. So what we do, you saw in the photos there, some of our aphasia-friendly lyrics that we use. So we've got kind of the big bold words and pictures to help people that struggle with reading. And on the videos, we'd split the screen to have half of those lyrics and half of one of us conducting away and singing so that people could join in at home, and then have sort of a mini tea break within that video. So Emma would suggest some things to maybe talk about and show some pictures. So that was something people could do kind of at any time. And we were able to send those on DVD to some of our members that couldn't access the internet easily. And then we started doing Zoom groups, which we're now doing every Wednesday morning, which is a real highlight of my week, and hopefully everyone else's as well. So you can see some of our members there. So it's similar setup to our normal sessions, but because of the time lag and the delays on Zoom, unfortunately we have to mute singing together, otherwise everyone's like slightly out of sync by about half a second. It's very strange. But yeah, we also have our tea break. We sometimes use the breakout rooms, so we're in smaller groups. It can be a little bit overwhelming for people with aphasia when you've got kind of 20 people all trying to talk at once. And yeah, we've also done a bit of songwriting. So a bit like you were saying, Catherine, sort of focusing on the experience of lockdown, the positives and the negatives, because there's been so many different experiences for everyone. We put that to the tune of Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen and sort of rewrote.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so we've got this really lovely kind of memory, which is now almost outdated because it talks about the roads being empty and no planes and all these things that's now started to come back. We can look back at that time. And we're writing a second song at the moment about kind of just the experience of having aphasia as well, what people would like the outside world to know. Yeah, it's kind of been, I think, really successful for us. Obviously, we would love to get back in person whenever we can, but it's really important to keep that connection going.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura. And we're going to come back, I think, to talk a little bit about technology in a moment as well. It was interesting to hear you talking about the role technology has played, particularly for choirs and groups wanting to meet online. For everybody who's watching live right now, we do want to hear from you in this session. There is a chance to put your questions to the panel, or also share your own experiences on how you've kept connected throughout the lockdown period with your family, with your friends, or with your stroke clubs and groups. So please do post. We're going to bring Natalie on every so often. We'll do that now to see if we've had any questions or comments so far.
Hi everyone. Thank you for everyone for joining us today. It's nice to see everyone in the chat box again. I don't have any questions at the moment for the panel, but as I say, I encourage everyone, if you've got any experiences to share or you would like to pose a question, then please do use the chat box and I'll be able to put those to the panel for you.
Thanks, Natalie. So more questions from me then. I think if we could go to Carol and Chiara, I really want to talk to you about social media, because that plays a big part in what you both do, I think. And you've both got your own YouTube channels. We'll take a look at those in a moment. Chiara, maybe if we start with you, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Your channel is very much about trying to help people who are living with a disability to tackle some of life's daily challenges. Is that a fair thing to describe it as?
Yeah, it is. I also like to help people. I like to educate people who may not know about disabilities as well, to show them that there's other sorts of disabilities. And also, when I was younger, a lot of people used to stare at me on the street, and it really bothered me. So I kind of wanted to educate people on different kinds of disabilities and stuff.
It's amazing to see what you're doing online, Kiara, and I want to encourage people who are watching now to take a look at your YouTube channel. We're going to post the link in the chat box. You've also got your Instagram page where there's loads of stuff on there too. Let's take a look at a clip, if we don't mind, of one of your videos. Your YouTube channel is called Kiara's One-Handed Life. We've got a little video we'll play now.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Kiara, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I curl my hair using one hand. So the things you will need is a curling wand or an iron curler with a clip, some hairpins and some hair ties, you might need a couple of hair bands, so just like that. And then I'm going to take this side. Apparently I don't have all my hair on my shoulders. And I'm just going to brush my hair again. And then I'm going to put this bit in my mouth again because I have nowhere else to put it. And I'm going to throw that bit behind me. And I'm going to take this bit, hold on, there's a piece of hair in my mouth. The perils of having one hand. And then I'm just going to curl it. I'm going to curl it from here because I don't want to burn myself. Again, you have to be really careful that you don't burn yourself, and then you just curl it upwards.
I mean, we absolutely love these videos, and Kiara, there's plenty more, isn't there? Of you showing people practical ways they can continue to do things in their daily life routine that you lead. Kiara, what reaction have you had to some of those videos that you've posted?
I've had overall a really good reaction. I get a lot of messages from parents whose children have had strokes or have cerebral palsy or hemiplegia, because I have hemiplegia, saying thank you because it's helped my child see how they're going to be when they're older, or helped my child learn how to do something with one hand. So yeah, I've had overall a really good reaction.
It's been amazing to see, and we know how important social media can be, not just for younger audiences. We know everybody's accessing this more and more and more now. Carol, I'm going to come to you if that's okay. You're also big on social media. You've got your YouTube channel as well. Before we talk to you about that, we've got a short clip from one of your videos. I hope you don't mind us sharing this. We'll play it now if that's okay.
Okay. Right, I thought I would share with you the first time I got on a plane. Okay, I am smiling now, but just a few moments ago, it didn't look like this. I actually burst into tears. It was just really overwhelming, and I think that I'd been in the airport for a couple of hours, and I'd gotten used to just being there, and then all of a sudden it was changing, and processing that became quite difficult. But the great thing is that I'm here with my friend Jackie, and she has been amazing in the last 12 months, and that she's been there, and just, she doesn't need to understand it, she just is there, is supportive. And I guess I'm sharing this because this is Stroke Brain Spain Diaries, but it also just reminded me that there are people out there that all they actually need is just somebody to care enough.
Such a powerful video, Carol, and there's loads more of those on your YouTube channel. Again, for everybody watching, please go and have a look at them.
I can't hear.
Can everybody hear me okay?
It's me. I can't hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can hear you, Carol.
Okay.
Can you hear
What
us?
happened?
Okay.
What happened? Sound.
We've got some technical problems with Carol, I think. We can hear you, Carol. No.
Okay.
Well, maybe we'll come back to you whilst we
Let me
sort
try and
that.
see whether or not this works. I can't hear it. Sorry.
We're going to talk about technology in a minute and the problems that we have with it. We'll come back to that in a second.
I still can't hear. Help.
Okay.
I can't hear.
We're going to bring you off for a second, Carol, see if we can sort that out. We'll come back to Carol. We're going to try and get her sorted. The joys of technology, and we'll come back to that powerful clip that we just shown from Carol. Whilst we're working on that, Pippa, maybe we can talk to you a little bit around positivity. It's something we want to speak to Carol about when she comes back as well. The YouTube clips that we've seen from Carol, it's all about sort of being positive, remaining positive in a life after stroke. Obviously, during a global pandemic, that's very tough for some people to remain positive. How important would you say it's been, Pippa, for your group to stay connected with each other and remain positive through this coronavirus crisis?
I think it's been incredibly important. I think just like Cass said about the group chat, if somebody was having a really tough day or it was feeling quite low, they'd post on that group chat and all the group members would jump in to support, offer supportive quotes, funny videos, that sort of thing. And I think it's kind of, and it's not just the stroke survivors, it helped me too, you know, we were kind of all going through it together. And I think the feedback from the group members has been that it's been a bit of a lifeline for them. Some of them were isolating, so they've had no other contact from people. And it was a real connector and incredibly important for them. And to keep that relationship going. I mean, Kath, what would you say about our whole group has been based around positivity, hasn't it? And about, and that's been the theme that's kind of taken us through lockdown.
Yeah, I would say reflecting, and I think linking in with what Carol, bless her, who's not here at the moment, but I hope she is soon, and Kiara have said, it's also wasn't about pushing out, like what, because obviously you need that space for all of those emotions. So it's really important to process it. I'm sure, Laura, you've done it through the power of music and songwriting. So we've done it through other mediums. And I think the positivity is sometimes it's an interesting concept, because I think sometimes people think, oh, it's just you've got to be happy all this. And actually it's being able to be that have that resilience and embrace something. So Kiara, the way that you've clearly embraced everything that's happened to you and turned this around into something really, really positive to inspire other people. So I think we've encouraged people to have that space to share. You know, a lot of people saying things like, I should be able to do this. Even our volunteers that were joining us, I should be able to work this out. You know, frustrations with technology, I should know how to do this by now. And we were saying, well, actually, let's look at what's behind that. And actually everybody's experience is different. So maybe the positivity is being able to share all of that as well and reframe it and go, okay, well, what can we learn? Maybe it's a journey, it's learning all together. Yeah. So I think it's been immensely important to have the group, to enable them to stay positive together. And part of that has been being able to explore all of the emotions that they were feeling. So, and I think that's what's really important, because then out of that, it is about growth. It is about learning. We're all doing it now. You know, I mean, I'm not naturally technologically minded. Some people just go naturally to it and are brilliant at it. But I've had to really learn. And I think that's a really important part to go. It is a process. Yeah. You know, and explore that. So that's been positive. And anybody else?
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think some of our group members have recognised more strengths in themselves. And although this has been such a tough time, what Cass said about resilience, I think it's been a bit of an eye-opener for them as to what they can actually tolerate and what they can actually survive through, and how they've kept themselves going, which I think is a real positive. Like Cass says, it's not just about looking at all the good things, it's about looking at the range of emotions and having that safe space to do it, but actually realizing, oh, hang on, we can do this, and having that support to be able to get to that point.
Thank you. I think we've got Carol back.
Yay! Hi, Carol.
Perfect timing.
Hi.
I can't believe it.
Maybe not. Are we with you, Carol?
Yeah.
Yay.
Can you see me?
We can. We've got you. Yes. We're really sorry about that. We're not sure what happened, but you're here with us, so we want to speak to you if you're up for it.
Oh yeah, I am.
Good. So we were talking about positivity. I think we really want to speak to you about that. Carol, on your website, you tell people to sparkle. It's your superpower, you say. You refer to yourself as the Chief Sparkle Officer. I think I've met you a few times, Carol. You're certainly one of the most positive people I've ever met. Do you want to just talk to people about how important positivity is after stroke?
Yes. I think the key for me is the fact that we are still here, and therefore everything is still possible from here. And that whole idea that the best is in front of us. And one of the things that I recognize, and I'm not kind of belittling any challenge that anybody is having, because the challenges are real, but that's only part of our story. We are still so much bigger than that. There is so much more to us than that. And the stuff that has happened is an event that has happened, and we're living the consequences of that. But we can still do things. We may not be able to do it in the way that we used to do it, but we still can. And I think that sometimes we're talking in backward language because we want to go back to something. And when I had my stroke, for about the first 3 weeks, I actually thought that they'd invented a time machine, because everybody keeps talking about going back. You know, that whole thing that I've got people praying for me across the globe to go back to normal. And the reality is none of us can go back. Even if everything is 100% and working wonderfully, it's not possible to go back. So if you used to play the piano, rather than wanting to go back to playing the piano, why don't you just want to play the piano? And that whole feeling that we haven't chosen this, and this whole feeling that life deals us crappy hands. So we have no control over the hand we are dealt, but you know what? We choose how we play the game. And so we choose how we navigate this. And so for me, I've worked out that it's neither good or bad. It just is. Because the moment it is that I label it as bad, I can get caught up in that. Yeah. Whereas actually, if I say that this is my starting point, right, where do I want to go? And oh yeah, there are obstacles to navigate, but it's okay because I've got a destination that I'm starting from here, not where it is I used to be or where it is I'd like. And okay, in one sense, I'm really privileged in terms of, because I don't have major memories, I can't even think about it. But that whole thing for all of us, the only time that actually exists is now. That yesterday is gone. When tomorrow comes, it will still be now. So I'm just kind of really passionate about all of us just being the best version of ourselves, right where we are. Whatever works, works. What doesn't work, doesn't work. We find ways to navigate the things that don't work. I love the Kiara, oh my gosh, I love you, girl. Rather than saying, I can't do it. It's not possible because of my limitations. She's actually saying, well, do you know what? I want to do that. So there's got to be a way. And it's for me that I need to find a way. And I think that for all stroke survivors, and I feel passionately about this, is that we can do this. This is crap. Okay, I'm never going to say that this is easy, because I have, like so many stroke survivors, every single day since the 28th of February 2019 has been a challenge to overcome. So that is very real. And so, but I'm saying, do you know what? I'm breathing. So, yeah. I have to motivate me because, as I said, I'm on my own. And like sometimes, even when you're with people that you're feeling on your own, that you need to find a way to help motivate you to just take one step. Because actually, that's all you need to take. You know, that we look at these grand things that I want to do, I want to run a marathon or what have you. Everything only begins with one step. Yeah. And so therefore, if I can do one step, yay, because tomorrow I might be able to take another step. So things like, for me, actually physically leaving the house now is a big processing challenge. And I've been to the front door, and the gate and the pavement, even though they are together, feel so far away that I cry. I quite literally stand there and the tears come because it is such a huge leap. So for some people that's easy, but actually for me it's not. But
We love those words, Carol.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So powerful.
Yeah,
we know
you need
that
your own show, Carol. You do.
Well, we can see it's resonating with everybody listening. We're getting some lovely comments from people. I'm going to just quickly bring Natalie on in a moment. Before we do, I just want to speak to Laura. I'm conscious of time. We want a couple more questions to you all. Laura, I'm dying to ask about the special guest appearance you had with the choir online. A world-renowned soprano joined you. Do you want to just tell us quickly about that?
Yeah, it was in our very first Zoom session. We were contacted by Laura Wright, who is an amazing singer, and check her out on Instagram and everywhere as well, because she does so much. And her dad is actually a stroke survivor and has aphasia himself, so that was her reason for wanting to get involved. And he joined us on the call, which was just really, really lovely. So she sort of led our warm-up, sang some songs with us. Some the choir sang along with, some she was performing. We had a big sing-along to We'll Meet Again at the end of the session, and Laura had her little baby daughter and their various pets and things coming in on the stream. It was really lovely and emotional. And I know she's also been doing sort of one-to-one singing video calls with stroke survivors and other people that are isolated. So that was so lovely, just to make that connection that I don't think would probably have happened if we weren't in lockdown and we weren't having to do those sessions. So we're so grateful.
And some amazing things like this happening everywhere with lots of other charities as well. But I think we've got a clip of that moment that she joined you. We're going to show that now, if that's okay.
So my story is that my dad had a stroke and a heart attack about 3.5, nearly 4 years ago now. And obviously, you know, experiencing that as a family was really, really tough. But Stroke Association were an enormous help and played and still do play a huge part in his rehabilitation and recovery.
Yeah, it has been beautiful for us, hasn't it? The first few weeks of lockdown, everybody felt so isolated. And then we started up this choir, and the number of positive comments and feedback that we've had since we started, yeah, it has been amazing. Everyone says it's just been so lovely to keep connected with each other. And then when I sent out the invite saying that you were our guest this week, all the comments that were coming back, really? Laura Wright?
We'll meet again somewhere, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
That's just absolutely brilliant to watch. We loved seeing that. I'm conscious of time. I want to take some questions or some comments from the audience. Natalie, we'll bring you back on if that's okay, and you could whiz through a few quick questions or comments that we've had.
Hi everyone again. We've had some lovely comments in the chat box, and I'll try and get through as many as I can. Back to as we started around keeping connected, I've got a comment from Gary that says the Stroke Assembly webinars have been a lifeline to me. I didn't have any contact until after they started. I have now joined 2 stroke groups in the second week, and the first week extended my family and now doing a quiz, and I feel amazing and so supported. So I think this just shows as weeks have gone on and we have gone through lockdown that people are finding ways to keep connected, like yourselves today on our panel, in so many different ways, which is brilliant. I've got a comment for you, Chiara, to say it was brilliant to see your YouTube channel. You have a great experience to help others and educate other people. So that's a really nice comment there for you, Chiara. And a quick question for you, Carol, from Donna, saying, Carol, do you have any tips for explaining to airlines or other transport companies how to best handle stroke survivors and maybe offer any support?
That's an interesting question. What I found, my experience was that the help desk, when it was that I was speaking to them and actually explaining my challenge, and one of the things that might be useful was actually getting the brain injury card, that actually on the brain injury card you can list the challenges that you have, so that there is something physical that you can show people that this is the problem it is I have with that. So my experience was when I was able to explain and I had somebody with me, they were really, really helpful. In fact, I had so much fun in the airport itself that it just felt like, oh, it's like having a party. But it's that whole thing about being able to explain yourself and actually utilizing the tools that you have to do that for you if you're not able to articulate it in a way that other people understand. But I think that the challenge for us all is that people don't quite understand, because we still got that whole thing that a stroke is physical. And so if your challenges are physical, it's easier for people to navigate that. If your challenges are processing or cognitive, then people still don't get it.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. And just another comment here to say, you're right. I always say I have a good life pre-stroke and I have a good life positive post-stroke. It's difficult, but good to see the equals between good and bad. So a lot of people, I think, enjoying your comments around being inspired today and thinking positively. So we've had nice comments in there. And I think that's all the questions I've got time for at the moment. But again, apologies to the ones we didn't get to today. But thank you. I will make a note of these and we'll get back to you through our email address as well. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Natalie. Time has flown by, and I just want to finish with a quick word from all of you. Tips from you on staying connected, not necessarily just looking back on what we've been through lockdown, but just staying connected in general is so important, particularly when you've been affected by stroke. So I'll come to each of you. You may even want to refer to technology. We know technology is a big part of this as well, and we've seen even technological problems within this webinar, but we get by, we get through and keep going, and that's the important thing, I think. So Chiara, maybe if we start with you, just a quick tip for everyone on staying connected.
Yeah, I would probably say like FaceTime or Zoom if you can't go outside, or like talk to your neighbours over the wall. Like if you have a next door neighbour, talk to them over the wall. My dad sat outside with our neighbour and had drinks outside 2 meters apart when we weren't allowed to talk, when we weren't allowed to like be in each other's houses. So I would say over Zoom, or FaceTime, or talk to your neighbours.
Thank
or
you.
pick up the phone.
Carol, any tips from you?
Yeah, I think that Chiara said, that whole face-to-face thing is just so much more powerful than just text messaging. And so, yes, do that. But I would also say to you, I think that life as a theatre, and we're in the theatre of your life, and the only people whose eyes you can see are the people in the front row. And they are the people there to encourage you, to inspire you, to make you laugh, to support you. Identify your 6 people in your front row, so that you know where it is you can go that won't be judged, that they won't look at you funny, so that you know that those people are there for you and rooting for you and encouraging you, and stay connected with them.
Love that. Thank you, Carol. Pippa, how about you? Any tips for people on staying connected?
I'm going to kind of echo what Carol said, in the fact that when you're feeling low or down, or it's reaching out to somebody and making sure that you do whatever medium you choose, via telephone or text or Zoom or WhatsApp. It's just really important to kind of keep that going. I know sometimes when we're feeling a bit low, it's quite easy to isolate ourselves from other people, but it's really important to kind of make that step. And sometimes it is, you have to force yourself to do it. But believe me, you feel 1,000 times better to find somebody out there you can connect with, even if it's just, like Kiara said, having a chat with your neighbour. It reduces that yourself in a bubble, and it's really, really important.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pippa. Over to you, Kath, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I would say the importance of reaching out and asking for help, but also being really gentle and patient with yourself, and thinking, do you know what, reframing, just like Carol said, it is difficult, but maybe we're going to just have a go, okay, so I haven't tried this medium before, but I'm going to try it, and I'm going to see, and just reach out, ask for help when you need it. I love that front row. I'm gonna think of my front row, Carol. That's such a brilliant way of looking at it. That's amazing. But I think and having a go and being patient and gentle with yourself, I think, is really important.
Thank you. And Laura, what about you? Any tips for people?
I would say to anyone that has maybe problems having those spoken or text-based conversations, if you've got aphasia or anything like that, think about connecting through music, because even though we can't sing together in a big group at the moment, the music's still there, and it's still got all of those memories and emotions connected for you and the people that you share those with. So yeah, it might be joining a Zoom choir, or it might just be singing along to the radio, having a little dance around the kitchen, whatever it is that kind of connects you with that music and then connects with other people through that.
Thank you. And a challenge to you all watching now, actually, for the last few minutes that we're live on the broadcast, perhaps share your own tips in the chat box with each other. I know you'll have lots more to share, so please do that if you can. The time has just flown by. We're out of time. I'm so sorry. I've got 10 more questions written down here that I'm not going to be able to get to. We could go on forever, I'm sure. But I just want to say a huge thank you to each of you for joining us today. It's been so lovely chatting through everything around staying connected with you all. I think we want to see much more of you at the Stroke Assembly in the future, all of you, if you'd come back. So for now, a thank you to you all, and take care, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely to meet everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is all the time we've got for today's session. If you've been listening and interested in some of the things that people have been talking about, there are resources available from the Stroke Association that you can access. We'll post those in the chat box before we finish as well. Just a few to mention: the Aphasia Getting Online Guide, which we talked about on Wednesday, a brilliant guide available to you now on our website. Our Here For You service, if you need it, around volunteer telephone support for people affected by stroke. My Stroke Guide, a fantastic 24-hour resource available to anyone affected by stroke, free of charge. Again, we'll post links to that. And finally, the Stroke Assembly. It was lovely to hear Gary's comment earlier about how the Stroke Assembly has been a community for him, but for us too, it's a way to connect where we can't do that face-to-face. So please do join us for future Stroke Assembly sessions. Plenty more to come next week. 3 sessions, do check them out on our website. But for now, have a lovely weekend, and thanks for joining us. Bye, everyone.